Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for dropping by this video. Thanks to everyone who's joining in live. Welcome to one more day of life. Here we are, immortal souls. Bruno Groening said on a vast journey. I think he said that on a limitless journey. We'll have to look it up. But here we are, these immortal souls on this vast journey. And here we are inside a body, here on this earth, having one more day of life. When we really think about it and really reflect on it, it's quite miraculous. It's very miraculous. And we can also be grateful. There's no question about it. The 21st century Earth School is not easy. I don't know if any century of the Earth School is easy. And it's utterly glorious. These bodies, nature, this planet, this opportunity to have experiences and learn and grow. I'll be the first to acknowledge that sometimes it is really hard. And let's also not forget how beautiful nature is, how glorious these bodies are, and that this is actually an opportunity. So, for me, the day's just beginning. It's 9 a.m., a little after 9 a.m. in California. So, how to start our day? So, okay, we've got one more day. What to do? Well, Bruno Groening advised people first thing in the morning to tune in. So, it's never too late. Let's do so now. To anyone who's new, tuning in means to take in healing life energy. And it's very simple. Please sit with your legs uncrossed, feet flat on the floor, hands on your legs, palms facing upwards, back in a relaxed, upright position. If you're not able to sit in an upright position, it's okay to lie down. My experience is it's stronger to do this sitting up, and you just do the best you can. For example, Bruno Groening said not to lean against the back of your chair. And when I started this, I needed to, and it was fine. I was still able to take the energy in and experience healing, and now I no longer need to do that. So that's the physical posture. And then please close your eyes and hand over all burdens, all worries, all illnesses to a higher power, to a spiritual helper you trust. And then think of something that makes you smile. And then begin to observe your body. Have the intention, the willingness to take in good energy. Noticing what you feel and having the will, the intention to take this energy in. Noticing what you feel, having the will, the intention to take it in. Handing over negative thoughts. Engaging our will, our intention to absorb healing life energy. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Melanie. Thanks for the energy hug received and returned. So, I don't know what life is like for anyone else out there. For me, it's a sequence of wonderful experiences and challenges. And what I've, come to accept is that that is part of life here on earth is facing challenge. Initially in the spiritual path, what I thought was, well, oh, you just meditate and everything becomes perfect. Well, that isn't quite how it's worked out for me. And Bruno Groening's teachings have also helped me to understand that, yes, that we're striving for deeper and deeper levels of harmony and order in our bodies, in our minds, our hearts, and in our lives, and that we're here on earth and evil abounds. And until we're perfect, and I'm certainly not there yet, all of us to some extent have taken on evil and we're in a process of freeing ourselves from evil. Here's something that Bruno Groening said about this. You know that it is my and this is from Wisdom of Life, page 17. You know that it is my inescapable calling to show human beings the path they need to follow and how they can free themselves of all burdens. But the path is long and difficult. So the path is long and difficult, Bruno Groening said. Mixed in with that, he also pointed out that help is available and that so much grace is available. And, when speaking about contending with evil, he called it a Krieg, which is German for battle, for war, life or death struggle. So we don't want to get fixated just on, I don't want to get fixated on, like, oh, it's just so difficult and hard. But I also don't want to get fixated on just this idea of, oh, everything's okay. There's no problems. There's this middle path of being mindful of how much grace is available and continually seeking it. And being clear that we're on a journey, that our friend, who I've taken as my primary spiritual guide and helper, he says the path is long and difficult. Now, This can be a little bit unwelcome news in today's spiritual marketplace, where there's all sorts of take this seminar and everything will be great, or take this supplement and everything will be great, or do such and such teaching and everything will be perfect. Well, that's just not what Bruno Groening said. And it's kind of this balance of not getting overly fixated on, hey, this is there's going to be challenges, and not getting overly fixated on like, oh, everything's okay, which is just kind of a denial of what's going on. It's just a form of dishonesty, really. So let's percolate on all this and really meditate on that. Yes, there are going to be challenges and difficulties. It's part of the path, and part of the path is facing it. And there's so much help and grace available. And the one thing I would add to that, and we're not meant to do it alone. We're meant to do it with the help of God, the help of a spiritual helper. And to a certain extent, we're also here to help each other and support each other on this long and difficult, yet very rich journey. So let's spend a little time taking in some of that grace, noticing how you feel. Taking in the good. Filling ourselves up with good energy so that we can face the challenges of life and learn the lessons that we're here to learn. Asking for help from God, from Bruno. Welcome, Gerald. Welcome, Forever Loving Everything. Thanks for joining in. Here's another quote from Bruno. You have also been displaced. You have been moved from the place where God put you. Why? Because you listen to other people rather than to God. As you have now become obedient to God, you slowly get back to the place from which you were displaced. So healings can happen in an instant. I've experienced them. I've know people who have, where 1 minute a burden was there and then it was gone. It was so inspiring. I met someone, I'd heard this story, but I got to meet him and shake his hand. He had been in a motorcycle accident and severely broken his legs, and they mostly healed, but not 100% because he couldn't stand up out of a chair. Let's see, he couldn't stand up out of a chair without putting his hands and really lifting himself. He had to really struggle to get out of a chair. That was the one sort of lingering piece from the accident. And he went to the Bruno Groening documentary film. He fell asleep during it. Then at the intermission, he just stood up and went to the bathroom. And he didn't realize it until he was in the bathroom. He said, "Oh my God, I just stood up." And so that's an example of grace. The guy fell asleep during the movie, although falling asleep, in the energy isn't necessarily a bad thing. Um, Sometimes we get knocked out and the energy just keeps working on us. And so there's an example of grace and support that's available. And Bruno Groening says that in essence, we've become displaced from God. And the reason why, we listen to other people. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And that once we decide, okay, I'm going to follow God, and we make that decision, and then Bruno very clearly says, as you have now become obedient to God, you slowly get back to the place from which you were displaced. That it's a process and it takes time. And that's not the most welcome news to any of us. I mean, as a Westerner, we have this cliche of wanting everything now and wanting it quick and fast food spirituality. Like everything healed now. There was Here in America, we have this, well, it's probably pretty famous around the world, this TV show Seinfeld. And there's one episode where there was this technique where whenever you were upset, you would just say, "Serenity now, serenity now." And somehow that would just bring peace to you right there, right there. It didn't really work, but it captures the attitude that I know I have had and sometimes still had, and I think many of us Westerners have around spirituality, of lack of patience and lack of the recognition of a journey. So let's really sit with this. So if you haven't, sitting with, I've decided to seek to be obedient to God, to follow God. Doesn't mean I do it perfect by any means, but I've made that decision, and I'm assuming some of you have here. And if you haven't, you can reflect on that a little bit. What does it mean to follow God? And for those of us who have made that decision, Bruno doesn't say, and once you decide, everything's going to be great. He said you'll be slowly moved back to the place from which you were displaced. So let's really take this to heart, that we're on a journey. There's grace available. There's what we would call miracles available. And it's sometimes the movement feels slow, and there's going to be difficulties and challenges. Noticing what you feel, taking in the good. If we know the good will prevail, if we trust that, are we willing to be patient? Filling ourselves up with good energy. So, as Bruno Groening said, we can calmly oppose evil. And part of it is we have to be willing to let go of blockages, of resentment, of anger, fear. We have to be willingly hand these things over. Bruno Groening said, I will not steal. Really letting the good in. Hmm. One of my favorite verses from the Bible is the book of James. I think it's James 1 5. Not sure, but it's the verse is, let patience have her perfect work with you. Now let patience have her work with you, that you may be made perfect and whole, wanting nothing. Meaning, if we're well, what I take that to mean is if I trust in God and I trust that the outcome of everything eventually will be good, then then I can come to this place of wholeness because if I can really hold that, then I have an absolute trust in God. And I will just naturally become patient because I know everything's going to work out. Haven't mastered it yet. Working on it. Work on it every day. But if we really trust that things are going to be okay, it gives us so much forbearance to face the challenges and difficulties of life and to learn our lessons here on this earth school. So um, we looked at the idea that the road back to, according to Bruno Groening, the road back to God is going to be long and difficult. And we looked at the idea that once we really decide to turn around, to really follow God, that we will be slowly moved back to the place of living in harmony and alignment. And we looked at that on this, there's so much grace. And Bruno Groening very specifically instructed us to build up our energy reservoirs so that we can calmly oppose evil, calmly face these challenges that are part of life. And, about this, about spiritual perfection or spiritual mastery, here's what Bruno Groening said. Even a spiritually, and this is from Wisdom of Life, this is from Powers of the Spirit, page 251. Even a spiritually elevated master who has been living in total isolation must be born again in order to accomplish in selfless love, and while living in a normal community with flawed people, everything that he once recognized as divine truth in his hermitage. Only a human being who withstands all temptations in daily life and does not allow himself to be brought out of the divine peace by anything, absolutely anything, can release himself from all attachments and is only then truly redeemed. So, if I understand this correctly, Bruno Groening's pointing out that full spiritual mastery isn't not having problems. Full spiritual mastery is meeting problems with inner peace, with staying connected to God, no matter what's going on, no matter how challenging things get. So let's reflect on that a little bit. That it's not our job in life to not be without problems. It's our job to maintain peace, to maintain the divine connection and face those problems. Taking in the good, filling ourselves up so we're better equipped to face the challenges of the day. I'd like to thank everyone for joining in and everyone who's watched this video. And I wish you a day full of connection to the divine, full of alignment with the good, staying connected to the good, and then acting from that place. Being guided by what's good. Take care. So much love.